Hi everyone, I'm Jérôme Hergueux. I'm with the French National Center for Scientific Research, and today I'm going to tell you about leadership in open source software. Anyone who's vaguely familiar with open source has probably heard this common narrative according to which open source would be a pure technical meritocracy. What that means is that for you to arrive at a leadership position within open source, the one and only thing that matters is for you to write efficient code. It doesn't really matter your personality or how you relate to other people. Now, by contrast to this common narrative, another narrative from within the open source community actually stresses the importance of community building skills and communication abilities for leader emergence and success down the line. Now, what's interesting about those two contradicting narratives is that they have not been evaluated empirically so far. And what I find really interesting about this debate is that it resonates really strongly with the theories of leadership that we have in the social sciences. And here, I'd like to contrast economics with management. Economics very much leans on the side of the technical meritocracy view. According to economists, you should never listen to what people say. Why? Because talk is cheap. And so people have all the incentives in the world to tell you what you want to hear so that you would exert a very high level of effort on their own project. As a result, the problem of the leader is to put his money where his mouth is, so to speak. That is, he or she needs to send a credible signal to his possible followers about the value of his project. And the one and only way to do that is to exert a very high level of effort, him or herself. By contrast, the management-based theory of leadership is all about communication. It states that to become a leader, you should inspire your followers. And the way to do that is to communicate effectively so as to get followers to share a common vision for what the team needs to achieve. That's going to help them coordinate in the face of uncertainty and avoid possibly forks at the end of the day. Also, the leader needs to get followers to internalize the goals of the team as their own. Should you watch TV tonight or strive to reach those common goals that you set for yourself? Finally, the leader is supposed to promote cooperation and trust within his or her team so that those goals can be achieved more efficiently. In order to do that, communication is key. The leader should project himself into the future and articulate a forward-thinking narrative so that we all share the same beliefs as to what we're supposed to do together. Second, the leader is supposed to unite followers under a common identity. Talk we, so to speak, so that we all share the same preferences and are motivated to strive towards the common goal. Ideally, he or she should leverage emotions, both positive and negative, because we know that this facilitates the internationalization of his message and builds interpersonal trust between co-workers. Finally, the leader should be confident and resolute. In this paper, we provide the first comprehensive study of the behavioral factors which predict leader emergence within open source software virtual teams. We contrast the empirical relevance of the technical meritocracy view with that of the inspirational leadership view. Our research question boils down to asking, what are the behavioral characteristics of naturally emerging team leaders? Notice that open source is a particularly well-suited environment to answer this research question. First, leaders have no formal authority in open source. Unlike many corporate settings, nobody appoints them from above, and the one and only way to maintain their authority is through peer recognition. Second, OSS provides public records of individuals' interactions with their teammates and projects, which are often not available through other data sources. All of our data comes from GitHub. We leverage the full history of developers' interactions with their teammates and projects between January 2010 and April 2017. We look at code contributions on the one hand and developers' written exchanges on the other. Overall, our dataset includes over 2 million developers contributing to about the same number of projects, and we organize our data at the developer times project times month level. So how do we go about operationalizing leadership in the context of open source? According to the literature, a leader is a recognized, trusted, and influential member of his or her team who engages in significant coordination work. We capture that by saying that a developer becomes a leader when he does one of the three following things. First, merge the pull request of another developer. Second, assign a pull request for review to another developer. And third, assign an issue to solve to another developer. According to this definition, this graph shows the average number of leaders per team as a function of team size. You can see that this number increases as a function of team size, as one would expect, although less than proportionally. In terms of our explanatory variables of interest, first we have technical leadership. This is captured through how much people actually do on the project, as measured through the number of pull requests that they raise, the number of issues and messages that they post, but also measures of code quality, such as the number of updates that they make to their own pull request. With respect to inspirational leadership, we rely on natural language processing to capture several important dimensions that we care about. First, forward-thinking narrative, which is captured through the number of tokens in the text that project developers in the future. Second, we capture the common identity aspect of communication by looking at how much do developers rely on first-person plurals in their communication. That is, use we, us, our in their communication. Third, how much they leverage emotions, both positive and negative. And finally, confidence through the proportion of certainty and tentative words in their communication. Our estimates are reported in this regression table. I refer you to the actual paper if you want to know how those are computed, but the important thing for our purposes here is that a coefficient greater than 1 indicates a positive effect of the variable on leader emergence prospect, and that all of those coefficients are standardized so that their magnitude can actually be directly compared against one another. One thing that should strike you here is that those magnitudes are strikingly similar, suggesting that technical contributions and inspirational communication contribute roughly equally to the leader emergence process in open source. One way to visualize that is to run simulations based on our results. In this graph, we trace out the leader emergence probability over time based on archetypal simulated profiles. On the left, you have a fully inspirational developer who is assumed to make no technical contributions at all. And to the contrary, on the right, you have a fully technical developer who does not express himself in an inspirational way. You can see that the leader emergence probability of those two profiles is relatively similar, again suggesting that both aspects contribute roughly equally to the leader emergence process. We conclude that the technical and inspirational leadership views in fact equally contribute to accounting for the leader emergence process within open source software virtual teams. We think that those results are interesting for online community managers, but may also attract the attention of platform designers who may be interested in the development and testing of features that may facilitate inspirational communication so as to promote team cooperation. Thank you for watching. We redirect you to the actual paper if you want to know more, and please reach out to us directly if you have further questions.